Hey guys, we're going to take a look at Husky's ratcheting combination wrenches. Just go over some of the features of these, where they're advantageous over a traditional combination wrench, and just how they perform. Alright, so one of the situations these ratchet end wrenches excel at are tight quarters that you can't get a socket onto. And you're going to have to use a traditional wrench and take it on and take it off a whole bunch of times. And you can see in the bench seat of my truck, this is exactly the situation I have. There's a 13 millimeter bolt right here in the corner, and it doesn't have much clearance on top. I can't fit a socket on top of this. And you can see in the past I scratched up the paint putting a traditional wrench on and off a whole bunch of times trying to pull this off, and it is a pain in the butt to get this thing off. It's just terrible. So enter the ratchet end wrench. This thing makes it a cinch to get this on and off. You just got to get it on once. Generally, I like to hold this piece down so it does its thing, so it holds on and doesn't pop off, and then you just got to keep turning it. It turns a very, very frustrating task into one that's not too bad. So for each of these turns, remember, I'd be pulling the wrench off, picking it up, and replacing it. And there we go, it's loose. So yeah, this thing, just a lifesaver when it comes to these tight little spots like this. This one is not reversible. So you got to put it on one way and turn it and then flip it over to tighten. It's got a nice little arrow on both sides that tell you which way you're actually turning the fastener. The only downside to that is, a traditional wrench has a little bit of an angle, so your wrench is up off the surface of what you're turning it on. This one doesn't, because you couldn't use it, when you flipped it over that way. So this is flat. And there will be some situations where you can't get in and do that. That's why they make ones with a little swivel end right here, or they make ones with a selectable ratchet. Both of those are quite a bit more expensive than these are, though. So if you have a regular set of wrenches that can get, into an area at an angle, and then you've got these for just really tight areas, it's a good combination. Alright, so Husky is selling these wrenches in combination sets of 10 each for metric and standard. And the standard sizes go from 1/4 inch up through 13/16 in 16-inch increments for the set. That's $50 for 10 wrenches. And then they've got the bigger wrenches. This is a 1 inch. I think this might be the biggest they go up on these. And you can buy these separately. You can actually buy all of them separately if you've got a specific task in mind. They've also got the metric sets, and they go from 8 millimeters up through, I believe, 18 millimeters, and they skip 16 in the set. So they've got 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, and 18. So anyway, these wrenches offer a flat end, unlike a traditional wrench where you've got the angled end. So you can see the difference between those. So this is for keeping you up off a surface if you're turning a fastener, so you don't keep banging your knuckles, or you got a little bit more clearance. This one will let you get into a little bit tighter spaces because it's flat like that, so if you've got a really narrow area to fit it into, but you're going to have trouble if you're turning it with a fastener that's flush on a surface. It's going to be a little bit more difficult. The reason these are flat like that is because this is a single directional ratchet. It's not reversible. And this is something they did to keep the cost down when they made it, because you just flip it over. And you can see there's an arrow side for which way you're actually tightening the fastener. So this is for tightening, this is for loosening. So overall, you can see it's a pretty decently sized wrench. This is another 7/16 normal wrench. And the Husky version is quite a bit longer. And the head's a lot beefier. Surprisingly, though, the bar is a little bit thinner, but this isn't the strong side. The strong side is width-wise, really, is where it really matters. And these two wrenches are about the same. Anyway, so mainly I had this one here just to show you there's an angle to most wrenches, and these are flat. It's just something to take into consideration. I think they do make angled wrenches that have an adjustable ratchet. And they also have ones that have a kind of a swivel head, so you can, just flip it over and swivel it up to whatever angle you need if you've got like a weird configuration you got to get down into. And Husky makes those. And they're more expensive, so these are a good option if you have got a regular wrench set for angled when you need it, and then you've got these for tight places. The Ratchet is a 72 tooth ratchet, and it's got 5 degrees as Husky's spec on it for when you hear it click. You can hear it click. There it is. And then you tighten, obviously. So you can get in some pretty tight places and just sit there and turn it just a little bit and get your fasteners out of there. Alright, so I've done my best here to get a setup where you can see what angle we're getting out of. So if we're turning it this way, we're going to ratchet backwards along the square here. And you can just see it's preloaded. Just about, it's a little bit past 90, isn't it? So we'll go ahead and turn it a little bit more. There we go. Alright, so I think that's about as close as we can get to 90 degrees. And it's fully loaded, so we're going to turn it backwards. See when we get the ratchet pop. There it was. That's not quite 5 degrees, that's more like 10 from what I'm seeing. And then after ratcheting, there's our 5 degrees. So you've got some backlash in here. This is a 1/4x20 nut, so it's 7/16 for the actual fastener. And so it looks like what happens is when you're tightening this, you start loaded. When you unload, there's some slip right here. And then it pops between 10 and 15 degrees with the actual ratchet. And when you push it back, then it's 5 degrees. So the ratchet is 5 degrees, but you'll have some backlash here. So you need more of a 15-degree swing angle to actually get any tightening force or turning on your fastener. So just keep that in mind. It says 5 degrees, and the ratchet is 5 degrees, but you're going to have some backlash with the fastener. So keep in mind you need a 15-degree swing angle to actually use these effectively. So the ratchet ends of these are 12 point, and they are chamfered a little bit to help you get it on that fastener a little bit easier. The crescent ends are nice and strong, pretty well built, maybe even a little bit overbuilt when I've got it compared to some of my other wrenches that I've got. Overall though, Husky makes a good wrench. And of course you've got the Husky lifetime guarantee on these. If it breaks, you just take it back into Home Depot and trade it out for a new one, kind of like some of the other manufacturers have on their hand tools. So that's a great assurance when you're using these things. You can push them to their limits. When they do break, you can get them replaced for free. Especially a little bit more of a concern is ratcheting ends like this may be more susceptible to breaking than a non-ratcheting wrench. So I like having that guarantee on them for life. So great deal, $50 for the 10 wrench set. You can buy them individually, and they get more expensive the bigger you get. But you're definitely going to get a better deal if you buy them as a set and then fill in any extras that the set didn't come with. Alright, so hopefully this review is helpful. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments section below. And once again, don't forget to subscribe.